Right, it's been a few days since my last venture into the world of Disco Elysium. I actually don't know what my next steps are. Let's get the old journal up. We need to wash a dirty jacket, apparently. Uh, we know that there's a communism meeting happening, but I don't know how high priority that is necessarily. It's possible there's something we can work out with that. Have we retried a white check on the finding a way into the chimney? I don't think we have. That's a possibility. We've tried the ice cream maker today. We try that every day because that feels important. Hmm. Perform an advanced analysis using HE coordination. Is there something I missed with the bullet? I'll have another look at the bullet in a second. Still have no idea where the bullet traces on the boardwalk would be, but we're working on the island. Failed that today, I believe. I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's have a quick look at this bullet again then. Bullet? Bullet? Hello? Hello, bullet? Is it? Oh, it'll be in the interact bit, won't it? Silly me.
The bullet is still safely sealed away in a plastic bag bearing the RCM stamp.
Did I fail this? Oh, I got a +4 to it from finding the rifle. It's not exactly clear because it's going off screen, but yeah, I presumably only had +2 to it before, and the chance was a lot lower. Let's try this again.
A rifle, revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. Probably an antique or a retrofitted antique.
Make?
The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battlefields of the Insulindian theatre of the anti-centennial revolution 50 years ago. Incidentally, you have just such a rifle with you, the dusty old thing you found hidden in the basement below the commercial area. It's unusable, sadly. If it were, the bullet would probably fit the chamber.
Is anyone still making these rifles?
No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war, so there are still a lot of these old military rifles floating around, usually broken. The quality was appalling.
So who uses Belmargrave rifles these days?
Antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries, a few lucky jamrock bangers. You're looking for the same thing you found in that hidden weapons cache, only in working order.
What are you thinking? Bullet?
I think I know where it came from.
Okay. And?
The shot probably came from a Belmargrave rifle.
An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or anywhere in Ravachol, really.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century and banned the use of breech-loaders in peacetime. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
It makes you consider every shot. I like it.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation.
So... It seems like we're looking for an antiques enthusiast.
Doesn't seem that likely, but we'll check out all possible leads. Next step, finding the gun itself.
Well, that was helpful, actually. Surprisingly so. Can we stop and play some board games? Can this be the board game episode?
In your hands, you hold a brand new copy of the game, Suzerainty. It's snugly wrapped in a skin of plastic. The cover features a charming illustration depicting a mass of grinning laborers loading goods onto a ship, while a richly dressed administrator oversees their work. The exact location and time period are left deliberately vague, but it's clearly meant to represent the economic relationship between the Revacholian suzerainty and its many vassals.
Fuck it, remove the plastic wrap.
The plastic wrap rips off as easily as a bodice in a tawdry historical romance.
Open the box.
There's a hiss as the lid slides off. Inside, you find a thick, full-color rulebook and more than a dozen pouches of various wooden components. Savor that new board game smell. A mix of wood, paper, and ink, all wrapped in the sweet must of cardboard.
Hey, Kim, you want to play?
The lieutenant looks over the rulebook before he sees something that makes his eyes go wide.
Holy shit. The average playing time for this game is 1 to 6 hours.
Sounds like a board game.
I'm not sure we can afford to set aside that kind of time for a game.
Let's have a look at the rulebook.
Welcome to Suzerainty, a game of economic strategy for the whole family. The rulebook is sumptuously illustrated and thick as a Gradian novel.
Economic strategy, more like rapacious plunder and
The
exploitation.
colourful illustrations depict cheerful workers picking apricots, hauling marble sculptures out of crumbling temples, and harvesting a strange magenta-leafed plant. Everyone is smiling.
And why wouldn't they be?
You begin to suspect there may be a political agenda to this so-called family game. Only one way to find out. The instructions are opaque at first, and introduce many concepts you're not familiar with. Fortunately, there are many diagrams and examples throughout. You soon figure out the basic conceit. Each player represents an administrator for the suzerain of Revachol. Your objective is to increase the suzerain's wealth and renown by accumulating victory points.
How do you accumulate victory points?
That's where the suzerain's vassals come in. The game features 4 vassal nations, each one home to an economically important resource. Each turn, the player collects resources from vassals where they've placed workers. They may then rearrange their workers, fulfill contracts for coin and bonuses, or build structures back in Revachol. As you leaf through the pages, your eye catches on a sidebar labeled Advice for Beginners.
Okay, read it.
Remember, there are many paths to victory in Suzerainty, but successful players will find one strategy and commit to it wholeheartedly.
So how was the winner determined?
The actual scoring system appears infinitely complex, with a series of tables and appendices required to compute each player's final victory point total. You skip that part for now.
Okay, examine the components.
You open up a number of pouches containing wooden tokens. There are also several punch boards with other cardboard components that will need to be punched out before you can play.
Check the wooden tokens.
In addition to the worker and building tokens used by each player, there are also several piles of colorful resource tokens, each representing one of the game's 4 principal resources. From the Empire of Safre, orange apricot tokens. From Ilmarat, the ancestral name of Ilmara, grey marble block tokens. From the Seminine Islands, white sacks of sugar tokens. And from Supramuindi and Sarah Maritza, magenta tokens for unprocessed cocaine leaves.
Oh, those are nice.
The lieutenant picks up a sugar token and admires it. Let's start punching out these cardboard pieces one by one.
Each cardboard token makes a satisfying ch as you pop it out. Soon, a neat pile of cardboard coins and counters has accumulated before you.
What? You're not going to offer to let me punch any of them out?
He seems interested. Let's put the
You
components
hold
away.
the open game box before you.
Alright, let's go for it. Sure you don't want to play?
What? Does the lieutenant hate fun? Is he the fun police?
Who died and made you the fun police?
The lieutenant gives you a sour look. He may or may not hate fun, but either way, he does not appreciate your attitude.
Ah, but if I'm persistent, maybe he will.
Have you tried goading him?
You're just chickening out because you know I'd crush your ass.
In your dreams, maybe. I've thrashed my share of trash talkers before. Now come on, let's put childish things aside.
Ignore the mock umbrage. Now he wants to prove it to you.
Are you sure you're sure you don't want to play?
What is detective work if not an elaborate game? You need logical inference, attention to detail, the ability to analyze your opponent's motives.
Come on, I think it might help us think of more creative solutions to the case.
I do feel like my thinking has become somewhat rigid. Maybe a little diversion to keep the mind limber is just what's in order.
See? He's doing the hard work himself. All he needed was a little nudge.
Alright, you've convinced me. How do we play?
I read the rules already. I'll show you.
You explain the basic setup procedures to the lieutenant, who seems to be a quick study. You each take your bag of tokens and counters and unfold the board between you. In the center is the crown of Revachon. Radiating outward are her colorful vessels, each one supplying some raw material desired by the suzerain. Apricots from Safre, archaeological treasures from Ilmarat, sugars from the Seminine Islands, and magenta cocaine from Supra Mawindi and Sarah Maritza. There's also a neat little log to keep track of your progress in case you need to put the game away and return to it later. The lieutenant goes first. He draws a contract card and moves several of his workers to the Safre territory of the board, and the others to the Seminine Islands.
Alright, detective, your turn.
You have a few options available to you. Will you try to fulfill contracts right away, or rearrange your workers to maximize production on future turns? Remember what the rulebook said. You will want to choose a strategy early on and stay committed to it.
Let the workers rest for a while.
What? It's the very beginning of the game. Your workers haven't even done any work yet.
Okay, well maybe make them work a little, but not too much.
That's more like it. You produce a handful of archaeological treasures and a smattering of other resources. Meanwhile, the lieutenant spends 2 of his sugar and 1 of his apricot tokens to complete his contract card. He is rewarded with 4 coins and a round wooden token that he places in the center of the board.
Is this game just like Settlers of Catan? It has vibes. There's definitely vibes here.
That's a market. It's worth 2 victory points.
Hey, can I get one of those?
Don't worry, it was mostly just luck. You'll earn some points soon enough.
I'm not even sure what the points are. I guess that's part of the problem.
Points are nothing. They don't exist. They're just an arbitrary convention that games use to reward or punish players for certain behaviors.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Now, I believe it's your turn.
Glancing over the board, you see several possible strategies. Pressing more workers into service would increase your economic output and help you to survive a possible conflict with the lieutenant. Or you could ignore your labor supply and focus on fulfilling contracts for points and resources. Those aren't your only options. You could also show your workers how much you appreciate them by investing some of that wealth in them. After all, they're the ones producing wealth for the suzerain.
I don't think that's a rule of the game, to be honest.
Well, sure, you can do that. It's just not a terribly effective strategy, but then it's up to you.
Press more workers into service.
Using your powers of persuasion, you convince more workers to join your cause. After several turns, your worker tokens greatly outnumber the lieutenants. A vast army of expendable labor is at your command.
Gaze on your workers like a harsh but proud deity.
Too bad investing in your workers just isn't worth many points.
What do you mean?
Take a look at the scoring tables in the back.
Lieutenant turns to one of those appendices you skipped over earlier.
You see in Table 8C that investing in territorial infrastructure multiplies your final victory point total by 1, which is to say not at all. Whereas erecting monuments in Revachol gives you a multiplier of 5.
So you're saying the values of the ruling class are completely divorced from the well-being of the people who generate their wealth?
Yes, precisely.
Nonsense. Remember what the lieutenant said. If points are arbitrary, who cares about winning? You should reject their system and just play how you want.
I like this guy's approach to board games.
Now it's the lieutenant's turn to respond. He moves aggressively onto the Safre territory. Soon his workers are producing a steady supply of extremely valuable apricots. For several turns, you struggle to respond to the lieutenant's burgeoning apricot empire. Eventually, you relocate the majority of your workers to Supremawindi and Saramaritsa, where they begin producing a bumper crop of cocaine tokens. You draw a new contract card. According to the text, there's an aristocrat willing to trade a large supply of cocaine for a number of coins and access to a rare bonus. Amplified music worth 7 victory points. You know, this isn't unlike the situation the historical Revacholian suzerainty faced in Safre in the middle of the last century.
Tell me more.
Well, the suzerain was looking for new markets for all the cocaine it was producing, and it settled on Safre. By introducing cocaine into Safre under exclusive contract, the suzerain created an extremely valuable captive market for an extremely addictive product.
Okay, but what does that have to do with the game?
If you could somehow get the lieutenant's workers addicted to your cocaine, you could not only make them less productive, you would also force the lieutenant to pay you for your cocaine tokens each turn.
Can you even do that?
Yes, you can. It's right there in the rules. You've reached a critical strategic juncture. How do you respond to the lieutenant's aggression?
Sorry, Kim, you're not gonna like this. The lieutenant's face goes stony as you take your turn. He does not appreciate you getting all of his workers addicted to cocaine. I love that that is a mechanic in this board game. That is incredible.
With each passing turn, you slowly bleed the lieutenant of coins as his own workers become less productive and more dependent on your magenta cocaine tokens. As a matter of historical fact, this is almost exactly what happened in Safre. To this day, fully half of the former Safre Empire remains dependent on international aid in exchange for a steady supply of cheap produce.
Isn't this what they did in the apricot suzerainty in real life?
More or less.
The lieutenant says, but he's thinking less about matters of historical wrongdoing and how to get out of the jam you've put him in.
Realizing victory is slipping away, the lieutenant launches a desperate gambit: protectionism. By erecting tariffs on your cocaine, he hopes to starve you out of the market at the risk of incurring the suzerain's disfavor. The end game is upon you. Do you escalate the trade war with the lieutenant in hopes of crushing him with your economic might? Or do you ignore his aggression and focus on building the mighty victory column structure in Revachol herself? Alternatively, you could throw the whole game away by trying to build a public education system for the children of your workers. The choice is yours.
I'm in it to win it. For mighty Revachol, go for the victory column.
Building the ultimate structure requires diligent economic planning, which you completely fail to do.
Ah, fuck it.
Rather than build a glorious monument to Revachol's economic superiority, you have to settle for a handful of post offices and school for the blind.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
A risky gambit, detective. Sorry it didn't pay off.
I guess I should have gone with a more consistent strategy.
That might have helped, yes. Now, let's tally up the scores, shall we?
Computing the final scores is almost a game unto itself. You each spend an inordinate amount of time making stacks of coins, consulting tables, and struggling with basic addition and multiplication. After double, then triple checking your maths, you have your final score. 15 victory points. The suzerain will not be impressed.
Oh no.
I've got 26 points.
He says, a barely contained smile breaking out across his face.
Don't be glum, detective. There's always next time. Figuratively, I mean. There's no way we have time to play this game again. Now, let's clean up and get back to work.
You hold the open game box before you.
Put it away, sadly. That was a fun fucking 10-minute detour.
Rigorous self-critique.
I got this.
Here it is. Hard facts from the man you are. You once jerked off in the locker room and were caught. You held a young woman by the arm and kept her in your apartment for 20 minutes against her will. That's right. These are not flights of fancy. These are real deeds, Harry, emerging from the darkness of your past. You tried shooting a fleeing suspect in the foot, but hit him in the pelvis, crippling him for life. And, above all, you let life defeat you. All the gifts your parents gave you, all the love and patience of your friends, you drowned in a neurotoxin. You let misery win, and it will keep on winning till you die, or overcome it.
That's a bit of a bummer after the whole board game thing, isn't it? Oh well. Do I get anything for this? Do I get anything for the self-reflection? Int and Psi red checks failures heal +1 morale? Oh, so I can fail things and still heal morale and health. Plus my learning cap for pain threshold is increased to 6. Okay, that's actually pretty fucking good, all things considered. Anyway, that's about all we have time for. I don't know why I said that. That's absolutely not what I was going to say, but my brain just fucking took over there. Or failed to take over, I guess. We have other things to do. And one of them is this. I think maybe there's a white check in here.
Of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black.
Alright, we failed this last time despite it being a really good chance of success, just because sometimes that's the way the dice roll. Hopefully this time will be better.
Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths. The chatter of tiny voices above suddenly cease. Then,
Hello?
You hear a woman's voice answer.
you've awakened the entity.
Hello? Are you there? Speak to me.
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the second floor. I'll open it.
You hear a low rumble upstairs, the sound of a curtain being pulled aside.
About fucking time too.
After you, officer.
That was far more difficult than it should have been. I mean, I banged like hard on that safety curtain, so they clearly knew I was here. I guess they maybe thought it was the librarian and just didn't want to deal with her shit. Oh, it's fucking pitch black in here again now. That's cool.
Yes?
I can't seem to... Why can I not click the floor? I can't seem to move. What the fuck? Game's bugged. Let's just try reloading that area, see if it does better this time. Okay. I can move a little bit. I have this area to work with. Oh, I got over there. What the fuck? Shall we go around and in the other way, see if that helps at all? It's fucking ridiculous. So I've had this rattling round in my brain for most of the morning, and Harry telling us about his embarrassing history kind of brought it to the forefront again. Today I went out and walked my dogs, as I do most mornings, and I'm walking around and suddenly I realised there's like a it's quite a windy day, and some of that wind seems to be like seems to be. I can feel that wind a bit more on my posterior region than perhaps should have been possible. So I left the house commando. That's a thing I do occasionally, especially on hot days. I was wearing skinny jeans and I didn't want to get too sweaty, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just sling some jeans on, don't need underwear, it's fine. What I didn't realise is those jeans have a big old fucking rip in the arse, and I just hadn't noticed. So I've been walking the dogs outside for, I've probably been out for about 40 minutes at this point. A good chunk of my arse was just on display. Thankfully I had a hoodie on, so I took that off, tied it around my waist, covered up my shame, but Jesus Christ, I'm now in the market for a new pair of black skinny jeans. Because I am a millennial and that is all we can wear. I can't fucking get into this area, what is going on though? Like, I'm sure that was a very entertaining story for you all. I'm sure you all really enjoyed me talking about my arse hanging out as I walk around a field, but what in the ever-loving fuck do I do about getting in here? I don't know if the game is broken or if you're just not allowed in this area, like at certain points for some reason. Like you need to wait for the sun to be in a certain position so you can like walk around. You know, so there's more light in the room and you can walk around better or something. I definitely walked around here in the dark before, though, is the thing. Let me just real quick try saving and reloading. Just real quick. I was going to disappear then. I was going to like cut this out, but I just realised I can do this pretty easily without having to cut away. I can just do that. It's not even, don't even have to close the game or anything. Please. Oh. I can walk with the arrow keys, sort of. I can sort of walk with the arrow keys. I did not realise that was even a thing in this game, to be honest. Oh, does WASD work as well? It does, cool. So we can get a feel for exactly our limits of walking. Something ain't right though. Something ain't right for sure. I guess we just have to give up on that little lead for a minute because it doesn't seem like there's anywhere else we can fucking go, does it? There's nowhere else we can fucking go in there. We're completely stuck, aren't we? Hey, do you know anything about this?
What have you found? And also, do buy the books. There may be teachings in them.
I don't buy any books. I bought a fucking board game off her. She should be grateful. Those things are expensive. You ever tried to buy a board game? I mean, like something like Hero Quest, you know, one of the sort of adult board games, so to speak. I know you can pick up like a Hasbro kids game, Buckaroo or whatever, for like 20 quid, but like big nerd board games are so fucking expensive, man. It's like a hobby I'd really be into if I could afford it. Ridiculous.
The purity of snow always reminds me of the purity of a man's soul, if he's got principles.
That's nice. I don't have principles, so no big deal for me, I guess. The thing is, I've not really got anything else to do, so I really do want to pursue that lead. I don't really have the option to do that at present, unfortunately. Oh, what's going on here?
There it is again. That spectral smell haunting this industrial harbour. And it smells like heavy fuel oil, mostly, because it's an industrial harbour. Years of turmoil, of hopes and dreams, ground beneath the inexorable tides of capital.
Close your eyes and take a deep breath.
Can you smell it now? You inhale. The cilia along your olfactory epithelium tingle with excitement as they sift through the swirling morass of industrial odors. First come the smells of the agitated strikebreakers, layers of body oil and sweat, over-buttered meals pulled from bake-light lunch pails, the biting stench of lye soap. And then there's the slowly oxidizing metal gates, the scent of stale grease emanating from every crack.
Paints quite the nasal picture, doesn't it?
Everything in order, detective?
Just taking in the afternoon air, like a normal detective.
There's a lot to take in, isn't there?
The lieutenant wrinkles his nose.
In a word, exactly what you would expect to find at any harbor in the industrialized world. Nonsense. The reek of communism is unmistakable, and it's coming from that railing over there.
You mean mañana?
Yes, now's your chance to establish contact.
Then contact I shall establish. What up, bud?
Hola, Wandering Man. How can I help you?
Listen, brother, there's something important I need to talk to you about.
What's that, boy?
He tilts his head slightly.
Now's your chance. Remember, communists are notoriously skittish, so it's best to insinuate your way in.
It involves our mutual friend, Kraz.
Don't think I've ever met a Kras personally. Then again, I've never been to Grad.
I'm looking for some people who know how to really grind a sausage, if you know what I mean.
Have you tried a butcher shop?
He looks at you with perfect equanimity. I can say that word. Shut up.
Okay, maybe it's time to abandon the subtle approach.
Look, what I'm trying to say is I'm looking for communists. Do you know any?
Comunistas, huh? Can't say that's where I thought you were heading with this. Not that I'm criticizing. It's good for a man to take his time and think about the whole socio-political world picture.
It's certainly been an interesting development to witness firsthand.
So you've given up copying and now you're hunting comunistas. Care to say why?
I'm on some sort of quest to develop my political potential and I need their help.
A fellow plains roamer in search of greater understanding. A classic story.
He nods approvingly.
I wish I could help. Unfortunately, I don't know many comunistas.
I thought you union guys were all communists.
Some are, some aren't. It's a big institution, room for all kinds. Comunistas, feminist supremacists, even an anti-institutional boyadero.
There is warmth in his voice when he talks about the Union. Whatever his personal politics, this is his home. Alright, so if he isn't personally a communist, he's definitely hanging out with them.
Ah, but you know, I did meet a genuine ideologo a few months ago. Perhaps he's your guy.
What's an ideologo?
You know, a guy with a theory. Someone who likes to pit his theory against other theories in deadly theory combat.
Did he say his name was Stiban by any chance?
Didn't say anything about his name. Wasn't this sort of encounter where names matter?
So how did you meet him?
It was late one night as I was leaving the harbor. He was waiting on the corner in a bright white jacket. Classic Sarameritian style. He asked me for a light. We shared cigarettes. Then he asked me if I ever thought about getting into some of the extra physical branches of communism.
So what did you tell him?
The same thing I always tell people who try to press some claim on me. I said, every boyadero rides alone.
Okay, so how do I find this guy?
I couldn't tell you. Once I declined his offer, we finished our cigarettes and he disappeared back into the night. Just before he melted into the shadows, he turned to me and said, "Remember Dobrava and Abadanais." And then he was gone.
Who were Dobrava and Abadanais?
I don't know. Guess not everyone remembers.
A tight half smile crosses his face. So what do you think it means?
Been wondering about that myself. Some comunista inside talk with me. not meant for the wider public. They love that kind of thing. You'd have to ask someone who knows to see the logo personally.
The lieutenant clears his throat.
Not to interfere in your personal errand, but it might have something to do with that passphrase Cindy mentioned earlier.
Alright, good thinking, Kim.
The lieutenant nods.
Just in time, the faithful partner arrives with the key that turns the lock. You two make a good pair. I salute you, boyas, and wish you good fortune on this grand ideological quest.
He tips his hat, ever so slightly.
The man whispers a jaunty tune. A coastal breeze ruffles his hair.
Well, it was good talking to you. Gotta run. But to where? To where do I gotta run? I'm thinking Measurehead. Not spoken to Measurehead in a while. Maybe he'll have some brand new insights for me. Racist ones, probably.
The unpromising race pupil returns.
No, I don't. No, actually, I've decided I don't. You didn't have any exciting new options for speech, so this conversation is over. Sorry. Sorry about that, pal. Next stop on the list, Evrart. The big man himself. I don't know, I'm just sort of, at this point, I know I've got 2 days before I can take the boat over to the island where hopefully we'll find something. It has the vague vibe of finding something, but in the meantime I just need to just kill time. I was really hoping that board game would just eat a day, because it said it could last up to 6 hours, but it didn't really work that way, unfortunately. Hello? Hello?
Mr. Dubois, every worker, member of the board. How can I help you today?
What's in the container that's outside your office?
My dear Harry, there are literally millions of containers in this harbour. I couldn't possibly remember what's in all of them.
There's something special about it. It's attached to a cavalcade crane.
Harry, you smooth-talking son of a bitch. Time is a precious resource, and I don't have enough of it to count containers with you.
Smooth talking. Maybe that's the way to go about opening the container. You should at least try convincing it.
I don't think that's how you open containers. I think that's the problem. I don't think that is how it works. How about you?
Oh, hey, mister. I'm not gonna bother you with a long greeting.
He didn't have an option for what's in the container, so I guess I can't just scream, "What's in the box?" at him, because that's not this. That's a completely different entertainment franchise known as Seven.
You're back before the cargo container. Its drawer has not lessened since you were last here. If anything,
I mean, the
it
fact
seems
that
to have grown slightly.
there's a roll, which implies that if I succeeded in this roll, I theoretically could convince the shipping container to open.
Why are you even trying to open a door with rhetoric?
Yeah, why am I?
Why are you what?
Anything at all.
Now is not the time to get philosophical, detective. You can do that after hours.
Alright. Okay. I think always is the time to get philosophical in this game. It's a game that just sort of bases its entire existence around deep philosophical and political and societal conversations, which is kind of crazy considering it should just be a case of finding out who did a murder. But you know, that ain't the way Disco Elysium runs. You don't just find a man and shoot him, bang bang, and win the day. It's a little bit spicier than that.
Right to work!
Right to work, I agree. Or wrong to work. Did you think of that? Ooh.
A Stars Ryko, one of the finest Zhimsk-made motor carriages ever. An oldie, but a goldie.
That's cool, but I have policeman things to do. Do not care about your cars. I know this game really does seem to care about cars. It talks about cars a lot, but you know, we've not spoken to for a while, assuming she's over here, right? The old lady driver.
Loman,
You caught me at an opportune moment. This awful weather keeps me awake. You can entertain me with your questions.
Before I came, you seemed away.
She's just a distracted old woman. We should maybe let her get back to her things.
You hear that, Lowman? I don't think your partner likes you spending too much time with me.
Wait, why is that, Lieutenant?
Nothing. I just don't think she's connected to anything.
He doesn't want your frail mind caught up in something here. Something unconnected to the case. But connected to this woman tuning out like that.
Should you drive a lorry if you get like that?
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm one of the best communers around. I drive routes no one else will.
What routes?
Lomonosov's Land, Udachnaya Zemlya, the Western Plain.
She nods and closes her eyes again, letting her mind submerge.
The Transcatolia Magistral. You for 1A. Adestradas do Mirador. All the good ones. The deep trenches. Where the bluebirds fly.
She opens her eyes again and shudders. I'm something of an expert in blacking out. You should take better care of yourself.
You're right, Lowman. I'm the one who should take my health more seriously. Thank you for looking out for me. Is that all you woke me up to say?
I guess that's it, yeah. I guess that's it. Seems to have stopped snowing though, look at that. The snow just sort of went away when we talked to the old lady. She must have some magic anti-snowing powers. Or she's some sort of wizard. It's the only possible explanation for it. You got nothing for me, do you? Hello?
Oh, look.
Hello? I don't think we're ever going to get anything out of him again, given the whole me upsetting him and forcing him to sell out his friend thing. You got nothing new for me?
Everything's still cool.
Not exactly. Not exactly. So we can just run around blindly. That's a very real possibility. I am wondering if the time of day has changed, which is why the snow has gone away. And that might potentially, hopefully, maybe, possibly, in some deep-rooted, optimistic part of my brain, allow me to walk through the dark room now. Wait, am I just being a dumb fuck? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm just a dumb fuck. Sometimes that's just the way I am. I can't help it. What is this? Trays full of dice. Colourful polyhedral dice. Hundreds of them. The candy dispenser has been repurposed to contain thousands of dice.
Hello, I'm Nia.
A bird-like woman sits on a throne of a throne of tools. A throne of stools would be cool, though, with emerald light shining through her hair.
Did you try knocking on my window? I must have missed you. I've been listening to my Milius.
She taps on her headphones.
So what kind of die are you looking for?
Could this be the malicious entity? Perhaps it's wise to go along with this masquerade for now. She's got a direct view to the backyard. You should interrogate her about the lynching.
You must have me confused with someone else. I haven't knocked on your window.
Then how did you get inside? By the south entrance? You know what? It doesn't even matter. What matters is that you're finally here. Let's talk dice. Did you have something specific in mind?
Why are you asking me about dice?
I'm a novelty dice maker. Tell me the name of your role-playing system and I'll make the die you need. That's why you're here, yes?
Role-playing games? You know the one made by Fortress Accident. Does that count?
Sure, I like role-playing games and I need some dice.
Very good. My rate is 10 real per set. Unless you want something really unusual. Take a look around and see if there's any particular stone you want to use.
The walls around her are covered with rows of precious stones and minerals.
It almost looks as if the stones and dice are a natural part of the room, growing out of the shells like stalagmites. No falsehoods are present. She's a novelty dice maker and doesn't have anything to hide. Ask what you need.
Okay, I'd like to order a die from you.
Of course. Tell me what you have in mind.
Tell me about your most extraordinary die.
A star that fell from the firmament? Those cost more than 7 real. Are you sure?
Well, I'm a star myself. A superstar. And superstars don't care about money.
Yes, you definitely have the proper attitude. How about a pair of 100-sided dice, made of ivory and inlaid with lodestone, a naturally occurring magnet, to complement your magnetic personality?
Pieces of lodestone were used as the first magnetic compasses, from which they derived their other name, coarse stones.
10 real, and I can get these ready in 8 hours.
I thought it was going to be more than that, but sure, it's a deal.
Great. See you in 8 hours then. Was there anything else?
Well, now that you mention it, what do you know about a man who was lynched behind the whirling in rags?
Nothing really. I didn't know him.
Who cares about the dead body? We might be dealing with a malignant entity here. The lieutenant looks at his notebook, then the woman under the large window.
Your window looks directly onto the courtyard. You're saying you didn't see or hear anything unusual last Sunday evening?
I'm sorry, detective, but as you know, I usually have my headphones on when I'm working. It shuts out most of the daily ruckus behind my window.
What do you mean by the daily ruckus?
Well, there's always something going on in the Whirling's backyard.
She stops to try and come up with an example.
During daytime, there are usually those kids. And lately, I've been seeing a lot of drunk workers hanging about. Must be because of the strike.
She's heard of the murder, but did not see it, sire.
But I never saw anyone during that fateful Sunday night, I'm afraid.
And you never took your eyes off the work to look out of the window?
I might have, but in this case, all I would have seen is my own reflection staring back from the darkness.
It's light here, but dark in the yard at night.
Fair point.
It's really hard to make anything out in the yard when it's dark outside. Besides, I rarely get up to look out the window when I'm in the zone.
I see. Well, thank you for your answers.
She nods.
Anything else, officer?
Hey, so where are we anyway? What is this place?
We're inside the chimney of an old central furnace. It's strange, I know.
She looks at the ruddy bricks that make up the walls. Even though they have been repainted, there are still signs of coal-black soot here and there.
But when I arrived here, all the other rooms were taken, so I had to build myself a makeshift home. Besides, I don't really have to pay any rent here, so that's a plus.
Plaisance was right. There's an entity living in the chimney. You should ask her about the curse.
Creative.
The lieutenant looks around the spacious room, its ceiling fading into the shadows above.
When she arrived here, there was no room anywhere else. She must have known the other businesses.
Do you know what happened to the other tenants? Everyone is gone.
More or less. Are you interested in anyone specific?
Oh, quite a lot of them spring to mind.
Give me a second. There's no mention of the game developers. They're the ones I'm fucking interested in. I guess I Found a Strange Machine is the closest.
Fortress Accident, the radio game studio.
She closes her eyes as if some sort of a remnant of a memory lights up her face.
She liked them.
They were an interesting bunch. We talked about role-playing systems every now and then. Once, I even saw 2 of them get into fisticuffs over Wirral. They certainly took their work very seriously. even if they seem to be chronically liberal with their schedules.
They had some kind of an accident with the backup copy, right?
An accident? I wouldn't know anything about that. I just heard they ran out of money and couldn't get the project done on time.
What went wrong?
Well, I did hear them talking at times.
She looks at the hallway as if she can still hear them chit-chat behind their curtains on a cigarette break.
They seem to believe they were historical individuals on some grand quest.
She sounds almost mocking when she says that.
From what I've seen so far, the project did look quite impressive.
Yes, but when the money started to run out, they just began to complain a lot about capitalism. You know, how the markets are rigged to keep out new businesses and so on. In the end, they just didn't get it done. They didn't have enough willpower to produce something truly historic, and to show up to work on time.
That's too bad. I would have supported them. The project looked great.
Not the wisest decision. You would have lost all your savings.
She tosses a pair of dice on the table. One of them stops near the edge of the metallic desk.
The result is 1 on a 20-sided die. The dice is black and filled with little silvery flakes, like snowfall.
Anything else?
I don't really care that much about the rest of this, to be honest.
Good. I hope it clarified things a bit. What else?
So I've heard the place is cursed. Did you know that people call it the doomed commercial area?
I've heard the stories, but I don't think those stories are true.
Plaisance is the one who sent me. She's convinced the place is swarming with malicious energies.
Plaisance, the bookshop lady? I've heard that her business is doing rather well. Have the energies spared her somehow?
Actually, the bookstore isn't doing that well. There are hardly any customers and she has to exploit her own daughter to keep the company going.
Oh, right. But it's not just the bookstore that's still up and running. What about the whirling in racks? Some people say it's part of the building complex.
Hold on, the Whirling is part of the Doom commercial area.
You could say so. Both houses were built at the same time and under the east of the Commerce Central project.
You're right, the Whirling really doesn't look like it's cursed.
And then there is me.
She sighs, looking at her messy work table. All kinds of tools lie there scattered, from knives to carving files to wire cutters.
I've been here for 14 years, selling novelty dice to role-playing enthusiasts. Not exactly a million-real business idea, yet somehow I've survived despite the talk of malicious energies. Strange, isn't it?
Maybe it's just because she's so talented that she's been able to woo the curse.
Plaisance thinks it's because you're the source of it. A malignant entity.
Malignant entity? What does that even mean? Some kind of sorceress? What about you, officer? Do you think I'm the malignant entity?
Time has come to face the source. Fear not, for the forces of the universe are supporting you in this psychic quest.
I'm starting to think there is no curse. Only business decisions and natural market fluctuations.
Exactly. Truth is always so disappointingly mundane and boring. But I'm glad we got this sorted out. Anything else I can help you with today?
That's all she has to say on the subject. She's been thorough and truthful, as far as we can see.
Interesting. She is hiding something, or else this check wouldn't exist, but there's no chance in hell we're hitting that one. So I think we will wrap up here. I know I've got a level up. I will try and remember what white check I needed to put a point in for, and put the point in accordingly. I'll have to work that out. But until next time, I'll see you.